Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Gabe Saglie Show. I am your host, Gabe Saglie. I'm in my home bar here in Southern California, and we're keeping an eye on how the rest of the world, destinations all over the globe, are slowly but surely reopening post-pandemic. We'll head down under in just a couple of seconds. First off, a reminder, any information you see on the show lives on our website, gabesaglie.com. Be sure to check it out often. Also, head over to our YouTube channel. You know, this is a homegrown, family-run, low-frills operation. We will keep the conversation going, but we need your support. Make sure you subscribe and tell your friends and family all about the Gabe Saglie Show. All right, Australia, certainly one of the most desirable destinations in the world, but there are restrictions now, certainly through the end of the year probably, that will keep a lot of us from being able to visit Australia and a lot of Australians from being able to travel outside their country. For more on what's going on the ground, my friend Stephen Howard is Group Director of Marketing for Ovolo Hotels, and he's in Sydney right now. Hey there, Stephen. Welcome to the Gabe Saglie Show. Great to see you.
Great to see you too, Gabe.
I know you're in the future. It's morning for you. It's about cocktail hour for me. So what I did do, seeing as you were my guest today from down under, I did pick an Australian wine. This is a Jacobs Creek Cab, a part of their double barrel series, aged in oak barrels and then finished in Irish whiskey barrels, which makes this wine smooth and complex, much like yourself, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much. You're too kind. You're too kind. But we do make some sensational wines down here in Australia.
And some of the great wine values in the U.S. actually are come from Australia, from $5 up. So, I mean, no matter what you get, it's always a good drink. So sipping on this, talking to you is exactly what I want to do, because it's a very fascinating part of the world where you're in right now. Obviously, you know, Australia, one of the more desirable destinations for Americans, but there are some restrictions I want to talk to you about. First of all, you're with Ovolo Hotels, very cool brand. You've got hotels throughout Australia. You're building 2 in Melbourne, very hot market there. You've got hotels in Hong Kong, a new one on the way in Bali. Very cool brand. Tell us about Ovolo Hotels.
Yeah, look, Ovolo is an experiential brand. We love not taking ourselves too seriously, doing things a little bit differently and pushing the buck. So if you book at Ovolo, you get what we call your perks. So you get free minibar, free Wi-Fi, free breakfast, free snack loot bag. You get free 24-hour gym. You get free self-laundry. So particularly for those coming from the US, you know, long distance, it's a great opportunity to just go and do your own washing without having to send it out to dry cleaning. And so we've got all these great things include even the social hour, so you can interact with other guests, obviously socially distancing these days. Additionally, we've got this amazing internal design, which is coupled with amazing art from emerging artists to established artists, all personally owned by our owner, Girish Junjunwala, who's incredibly passionate about this stuff.
So it's interesting, your business model almost bucks the models that we're seeing out here, where now we've introduced, as you know, these resort fees that'll get me to things like maybe the social hour at the end of the day, the access to the minibar, the gym. But this is an all-inclusive experience for you, and it works from a business standpoint. It's working for you, huh?
Effortless living is what we call it. Everything is included, and so when you leave a happy guest. And so another mantra that we have in Ovolo Hotels is happy guests equal loyal guests. Yeah,
well, I know exactly where to stay. You're at one of your Sydney properties, right? The Woolloomooloo?
Absolutely. Ovolo Woolloomooloo. It was voted the #1 hotel in Australia and South Pacific last year for TripAdvisor. So amazing property, won numerous local awards as well in the HM Magazine Awards, and those awards continue to roll in.
I know that there are restrictions now as Americans traveling to Australia is probably going to be unlikely between now and the end of the year. And I know that there are restrictions for Australians being able to travel abroad. So you're going to be catering now as a hotelier, as a restaurateur, because all those great hotels you talk about also have these great restaurants on site. You really will be targeting a domestic market like you never have before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you hit the nail on the head. So yeah, we will be heavily focused on the domestic market. Tourism Australia is doing a wonderful job of engaging both the tourism industry in terms of updating them of what's going on, what we can do, trends, etc. And then also they're doing an amazing job of promoting domestic tourism, which is a shift and a pivot for them as well, because they've always mostly been predominantly focused on international travel. There is somewhat of around $45 billion worth of Australian dollars which go overseas every every year for international travel. So there's going to be a percentage of that which comes back into the local Australian domestic market as well. The other thing which is happening, which is a really great thing as well, is what we're calling the Australian New Zealand bubble, and that will hopefully come online late August, September, where we'll be able to travel between each of the countries without restrictions. And that's a great thing because Australia and New Zealand obviously have a great relationship. New Zealand behind China is one of the #1 markets into Australia. And I'd also like to see that extended to our South Pacific neighbours as well, Fiji, Noumea, Vanuatu, New Caledonia, Samoa, all those kind of countries. I think it'd be wonderful to see. Southeast Asia is starting to ease as well. The Indonesian government has done a very, very good job and the local Bali government have done a great job of really isolating that island, so they haven't seen the pandemic take control there. So there's a potential that Bali could become a little bit of a bubble, and even the likes of Hong Kong, where we've got 4 hotels as well. They've done a great job of curbing the pandemic, and that's been very much a community-driven thing there, because they've been through SARS and MERS and M1H1 before, and they've all been very conscious of looking after each other, wearing masks from the very outset of the COVID-19 outbreak, hand sanitizer. So they haven't had cases for weeks, and they're also doing a lot of staycations, and eventually in Hong Kong you'll see what they call the Greater Bay Area of Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Macau reopen up for that kind of regional travel as well within those special economic regions and cities.
Now, I know you've got 2 hotels in the works in Melbourne. You've got a hotel in the works in Bali. Has this COVID situation put a pause to any of those projects, or are you still on track? How is that?
No, absolutely not. We're still full steam ahead. Ovolo is a very positive company. We will come out of this, I think, and that's one thing that I think everyone realizes that and needs to know, is that this is not forever. The world has been through pandemics before. We have got through it, and we're at a point in time where we're more sophisticated than ever. So, I think with a level of social distancing and responsibility, but then also the technology and medical technology, we will get through this, and eventually it will be over, and there will be some herd immunity as well. So, we've really taken the approach that we're going to keep on going full steam ahead. It will come back.
I like your enthusiasm and optimism, because I have that too. And then sometimes you get met with sort of those day-to-day, concerns and the news of the day that sometimes kind of tries to get in there and mess with that optimism. But you got to keep that as your pervasive guiding light at the end of the day, because you're right.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And you know what, I have to admit, I'm somewhat disappointed in our industry. I look at some of these COVID-19 videos that are getting put out by particularly the bigger chains, where they're showing these plastic screens and masks and gloves and UV lights. And you know what, the phrase that I've been using is, we're in hospitality, we're not in hospitals.
Yeah.
Right. And we need to be positive about this, and we need to have the right information at hand and make sure that we're communicating with our guests about, you are safe within our hotels. But I think we're actually scaring guests in terms of some of these major videos that are coming out showing this quite impersonal experience, actually, when hospitality is all about being hospitable.
Because you've got these great restaurants you're running in conjunction with these great hotels, particularly there in Australia, what are the changes there? Clearly, you're dealing with some spacing requirements.
Our social hour, because we want to responsibly socially distance, we've got a social hour trolley that goes room to room now during this COVID period as well. A number of other takeaway concepts. So when our restaurants were closed, rather than just doing takeaway off the original menu, we came up with new sub-brands, which gave somewhat of a new experience. They had some of the original items on it, but it was a new sub-brand. It was something exciting, something different for our punters as well. So we continued to innovate throughout this period. We never turned off. We kept on going, whereas a lot of other brands, both here in Australia and abroad, they virtually switched off. Whereas we took the opposite approach and kept on going and we're seeing now coming out of it that we're really achieving great occupancy and great rates, and seeing some really positive signs of past guests coming back, but new guests coming back as well.
You know, last time we saw each other, we did a little painting of the town here in Los Angeles. As soon as the rules allow me to do that, maybe I can, you know, head down there. We'll do a little painting of the town.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Love to, Gabe.
I still have more wine to discover from down under, so I'll have you be my guy.
There's lots of wine. It's always well known that Australians do enjoy a little bit of a tittle here and there.
Certainly, yeah. And some of us Americans do as well. So we'll see. It's a meeting of the minds. I like it. All right, Stephen, great to see you.
Hotels, not hospitals.
That's exactly right. Let's not forget that. All right, pal, we'll talk again soon, okay?
Amazing. Thank you, Gabe.
To find out more about Ovolo Hotels, check out their website, ovolohotels.com. Now, I don't want to leave Sydney just yet. We've got one more person to check in with, and that's my brother, Luis Saglie, composer, musician extraordinaire who's lived all over the world, landed to reside in Sydney, Australia in January, right before the pandemic hit. He's got some tales to tell and a pretty neat new project as well. Hey, Luis, welcome to the show.
Hello, greetings from Australia.
I know it's morning for you, it's evening for me. But you're still joining me in a glass of wine, right?
It's never too early for a nice glass of wine.
We were raised right? So I've got this Jacob's Creek I was telling my friend Stephen about. You've got a, what is that, durif?
Yeah, I wanted to pour it in front of the camera so you can, I don't know if you can appreciate the color, but
yeah.
This is a durif. It's petite sirah. Oh. From what I understand, they call it by this name here, and it's berry, cherry, intense mixed with chocolate and full body. Like, really, cheers.
Breakfast of champions, then.
One of the great things of Australia. Yeah.
Fantastic. By the way, speaking of Australia, you've been there for a couple of months. Wacky time that you would have landed with Constanza in Sydney. So what's your everyday life there like?
It's really close to a normal feel now. We're back to that. But that this awareness that we have to be careful on the street and keep our distance. I think it's not going to go away for a long time, if ever. Every now and then, one case might pop up somewhere, like at a school, and then they'll close that facility. But people here have been incredibly responsive to the government, which has always been just a suggestion. Please stay home. Please take these precautions. And even though many have not been happy with that because they do want to continue their lifestyle, what's impressed me a lot is they follow the rules anyhow.
It's good to see that throughout your life, you've always managed to, when adversity hits, you find a creative way to deal with it and push through it. And in this case, as so many of us, we got extra time on our hands. Technology is facilitating certain things like communicating with the rest of the world. And now you've launched your own music institute.
Well, look, the life of an artist, a musician in particular, is always about that. In good times and bad times, you have to improvise. You have to find a way to kind of make it your own path, because the traditional paths usually won't go to your favor. So Saglie Music Institute came about, international Saglie Music Institute, because it's open to anyone, anywhere in the world. My background is composition, but also backed up with studies in conducting and piano. Stylistically, also I've done a lot, even though formally trained, I ventured out into musical theater, into film scoring, jazz, pop music, folk arrangements. The typical scenario from a hardship comes out a great ship.
Something good, something positive, and I can be someone who wants to play the piano from day one and needs sort of that first initial guidance, or a composer who's trying to hone my skills, or a musician who maybe wants to enter another genre of music. And that's for those of people who don't know, Luis has traveled all over the world. I've been to premieres of your operas in Vienna. I've seen you perform in Los Angeles. You've been to Japan, to Barcelona, Chile. So clearly, you bring an amazing amount of talent to the laptop, making it easier for anybody at any stage of their musical career or interest to tap some of that talent from anywhere in the world. So, the International Saglie Music Institute. You need to finish your breakfast. So I'm going to let you go.
We'll do my categories for the day.
Yeah. Cheers.
All the best.
Congratulations. Continued success. Good luck with everything. See you soon.
Thank you so much. Take care. Cheers.
And you can find out more by checking out SaglieMusicInstitute.com. Check out Luis's YouTube channel for videos from performances all over the world over many, many years. Some cool stuff there as well. Our website, plethora of information, including a lot of my wine and travel writing, so check out GabeSaglie.com. That does it for this episode. We've got more to talk about, of course, in another rendition of the Gabe Saglie Show. Until then, stay safe, stay well. And as they say down under, cheers, mate.